Let's talk about the best format for keyword golden ratio terms. They're a little hard to find when you're first starting out, and it's confusing, right? I mean, you're trying to do a formula, you're doing an advanced Google search term, and it's just kind of weird, right? So one of the most common questions I get when someone has at least bought in or has some amount of faith in the keyword golden ratio is, how do I find these? It's too hard. I can't find these keywords for my niche. And it's tough. I mean, it took me several months to sort of hone in on this approach and then to refine the process. But I think you'll find once you put in the time, you'll develop a skill in finding KGR terms so that once you start looking, you can start with a few seed terms, refer back to the SEMrush demo a couple videos ago in this playlist, and you'll see you can start with a few seed terms and really come up with several in half an hour. And once you develop that muscle for finding KGR terms, then it'll be much easier. In this video, I'm going to give you a couple common formats that I see that work out really well. So let's go on the machine here and start playing around, and I think it'll be much easier once you see it in practice. We know that this is a super common question because I get it all the time. This is a comment from Garab, who says, how do you find buyers' keywords with a KGR? And then very recently I got a comment, which I actually can't find right now. Someone was asking how to find KGR terms that don't follow the format that I'm going to tell you about, which is pretty standard. I'll get right to it. I'm not going to beat around the bush too much here. But basically, people have a hard time finding different formats. And if they are a little concerned about finding a format that is different, that doesn't have best in it, well, they may have a little trouble. So let me just show you real quick. So a lot of times for keyword research, I will just use Keywords Everywhere. Right off the bat, I'll tell you that. That's a free tool. There's a video about it. There's a video in this playlist where Alex showed us how to do that. And Keyword Keg is sort of like one of the, it's made by the same company, so some of the same technology. Keyword Keg is a more robust tool. It has a lot more options and it does a lot more versus Keywords Everywhere, which is just a free plugin is very useful, of course. However, with Keyword Keg, you actually get some, more high-end functionality. So we'll reference this in a second. And like I said, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to tell you the format. Most of the time, if you're looking for buyers' keywords, it's going to be something like this. Best product, right, for a specific use. So that is one of the best formats you can do for any niche, because in fact, the product name for a specific type of use is a really good format to put a keyword in, and that is a buyer's keyword. If you're unfamiliar with the buyer's keyword concept, I can place a link for basically a keyword research information session, a workshop where I go over some of the details. So most likely you're going to want to use a keyword research tool, and this is just a nice way to do it. I've obviously saved these 8 because these are interesting to go into. You'll notice there's various formats here. So I talk about there's a best pen, and then there's a type of pen. So best ballpoint pen, right? So we're getting more granular there. And then we see other stuff like best pen for journaling. And you could put these ideas together and say, best gel pen for bullet journaling, right? So that is generally the format. And when you start digging into a topic, you'll find more and more and more of them. So it may seem insurmountable at the beginning, especially if it's a topic or a niche or a set of products that you don't know much about, which that could be very common, especially when you're doing preliminary research for your site and maybe you're brainstorming a lot of different topics. Maybe you're only knowledgeable about 1 or 2 of them, and then there are others that you don't know anything about. Like if you look at me right now, it looks like I don't know anything about shaving. I haven't shaved in a few days, which is one of the luxuries of working for yourself. You can look a little bit like a slob from time to time, and no one will give you a hard time about it except maybe your wife. But I am digressing. So let's get back to the topic here. So one thing you could do, let's hop over to Google. And this is a sort of a 201 level thing that we're looking at here. So we have been talking about the keyword golden ratio for several videos here. And at this point, I assume you've bought into the idea, right? So the first thing that I usually tell people about is like, hey, here's the concept, here's why it works, here's the spreadsheet, and here's the data. And by the way, here's a bunch of people that are telling you that they've tried it and it works. So once you've gotten past that point, you may start thinking, well, Doug, you're missing out on a lot of keywords because you're really kind of only thinking about things in a certain way. And you're right. But I can't open with that because that is level 2, right? That's 2.0 stuff that we're not ready for at the beginning, but you're ready for it now. So one thing you could do is check out Autosuggest. It's one of the best ways to find KGR terms, all right? And the reason why is Google is literally telling you that people are searching for these terms, and a lot of times they fit in perfectly, 100% perfectly with like the keyword and niche that you're looking at. So I've just typed in ballpoint pen, and then this is Google, just straight up, I'm gonna click space. And then all of a sudden it's best ballpoint pen for like a lot of different uses. So we have for drawing, for writing. Some of them don't apply, like Reddit. I usually don't go for years like 2018 because obviously those have a lifespan and you have to change it often. So I basically ignore anything with a year in it. I don't care. Sure, you may get some short-term bumps, but that's not really what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to do any kind of short-term anythings. So best ballpoint pen for a number of different items. And by the way, Keywords Everywhere is working behind the scenes. The 170 per month, and then they have the CPC as well as the competition. We don't care about those 2 second factors here, but 170, it tells us that's the number of searches per month. That's Keywords Everywhere. Again, the free tool. If you didn't watch that video, it's in the playlist as well. And we just get a number of different ideas, and the ones, in fact, almost all of these fit except ballpoint pen as far as the keyword search volume. So we have 170, 110, we have 50, 20, 20, 10. These don't get any searches, right? Best ballpoint pen, Reddit, no searches per month, right? But the fact is people are indeed searching for that. So if that comes up, it's like on average is 0 searches per month, but someone's looking for it. Now, chances are Google is smart enough to provide Reddit results, like reddit.com results. So that wouldn't be one that I would go for the obvious reason that, people are not really trying to go to a site to get information. They just want to go to Reddit. So I wouldn't go for that one, but we'll see other examples coming up soon. So let's just say so now this is the perfect format. Each one of these is a perfect format for this specific niche, a ballpoint pen, which I use often because often pens are cheap. There's not as many niche sites out there on it, and I like pens. I have a crap load of pens right here in front of me, all different colors. These are all Pilot G2s, by the way, if you care. Those are the pens that I use personally. They're cheap and they're everywhere, right? You can get them anywhere. Refills are cheap as well. So as we go a little deeper, I'm just going to say for journaling. So now we've jumped into another area, best fountain pen. So no one's typing in best ballpoint pen for journaling. Okay, so Google is sort of jumping ahead. They're like, hey, no one's really looking for that. But if you want to journal, this is how smart Google is. If you want to journal, you probably shouldn't use a crappy ballpoint pen. Maybe step up your game, use a fountain pen. All right, so that's kind of what we're learning there. But the fact is, all of these would fit in quite nice for a niche. And in almost all of these cases, I would write a separate article for each one of these. So now we're getting into the content area. And basically, I would write a separate article for each one of these because each one of the users has a distinct idea of what they're trying to do. The ones that are very closely related would be drawing and sketching because those are more artistically oriented. However, I'm not an artist or a drawing person or a sketcher or anything like that. My skills lie elsewhere. The point is, those two are closely related, but if you were an artist, you may know that based on the vocabulary, like drawing and sketching, those may be different kind of users. But the point is, a best ballpoint pen for lefties and best ballpoint pen for work, those are 100% totally like different types of users looking for something, right? So the results of what you are trying to provide, the information you're trying to get to them are different, right? It's totally different, and that's why. Or best ballpoint pen for business versus sketching. I mean, there couldn't be more different types of users, right? I'm making some assumptions, but it's very distinct. Okay. So the other thing we're going to look at here, we have that, and what we can see. So best ballpoint pen for everyday use. So what I could do, I'm guessing there's not many searches for that. So I'll do something a little more interesting. We'll do the sketching because that's a low search volume. Okay. So that is a great format. What's the best ballpoint pen for sketching? So we have best, and then the product name, and then the use or the user type. All right. So that's the other thing to know. Now, a cool thing, real quick, Keyword Keg has just added this new panel for people also search for. So they are, there's some potentially machine learning, some AI in the background. I haven't talked to them yet, but they've just added this in the last couple of days, like since, the last time I shot a video on keywords everywhere. So this is over here, but you'll notice that it's not very directly related to buyers keywords or super related to this term. Now, it's kind of related. It's related to pens and stuff, but it's not super related. Okay, so we have best ballpoint pen for sketching. We see the volume is 20, and then that's great. So one thing I could do is I could just put my mouse, the cursor, on the search bar again, and we see Google again is smarter than me, and I don't need to be original. We could just take the signs from Google. So best pens for sketching, for industrial design, for illustration, waterproof pens, doodling pens, all these things that I didn't think of, and I don't know anything about the topic, right? I don't know anything about art or anything, right? So I'm just clumsily fumbling around and finding all these keywords that are probably pretty damn good, right? And the exercise in this video is not to actually like calculate it. If you need to figure out how to calculate KGR terms, go back to one of the early videos where I show you how to use my personal spreadsheet, which you could get, freely available, and make your own copy and start finding, the information on your own. We're just trying to find the format to give you some ideas on how to find more of these. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and then we see related searches to this that we're looking for, right? So best ballpoint pen for sketching. So again, these are some of the related ones that we saw up there. And Keyword Keg, again, is coming through and telling us that there are 880 searches for drawing, but for industrial design, that's 0. And this is a question that I get really often. If we see this down here and the search volume is 0, well, the formula doesn't work. So Doug, does that mean don't publish it? No, I would basically, whenever I see a search volume of 0, I basically publish that article like 100% of the time. There's a couple reasons for it, kind of beyond the scope, but I'll just little tidbit. Basically, if you have a site that's been around for like 6 months or more, you're probably going to be able to rank a little bit for a term like that. The other huge advantage with a 0 search volume is it means very few people are actually going for it because people are greedy. And if you had the option to go after something with a 0 search volume or 110 or 1,000 searches per month, most people are going to go for the 100 or 1,000 searches per month. Again, they're greedy. They're going for the bigger win, even though it could take longer, it could be harder. Maybe they're never going to get to it. But if you go after 0 searches per month, you're probably going to rank for it. All right. Not 100% of the time, but if you're doing this at a scale, let's say you publish 20 articles and everything has a 0 search volume, but it was an auto or related suggest from Google, that's going to do pretty good. So just keep that in mind. All right. Now we're going to hop over to Keyword Keg and look at a couple others. So as I was just coming up with a few like different formats, you can you can see it in this specific one. So what is the best gel pen for bullet journaling? So we have gone in deep for a couple areas. So again, the format, best product name for a use or a user type. And what we've done here is we've specified exactly what the product is. So instead of saying pen, we're saying gel pen. That is a specific type of ink. It's a gel ink. So we're being specific there. And then we're not just saying journaling, we're saying bullet journaling. So in the two cases, we've gone very, very specific there. And the interesting thing is there's zero search volume for that. But I'm not 100% sure. I didn't check this before, but we're just going to see what happens when we actually Google this. So what's the best pen for bullet journaling? You'll also notice that I put in the what is the best at the beginning, because some people search for that exactly. So we'll see 0 searches per month. Okay, that's interesting. And this may not be a great example, but it's specific. That's why I'm going over it. So we have best, and then we have gel pen. So we're being specific, and then we're being specific again about the specific use. All right. Now what we can do, again, we just click up here. We see the related searches, and each of these could be like terms that we are looking for specifically. Again, without even knowing anything about the topic or the specifics of what the users and people interested in the niche would be looking for, Google is telling us. So bullet journal supplies for beginners, like journal pens that don't bleed. I mean, these are very deep that you wouldn't think of unless you were like part of the niche, but you could very quickly like understand what's important for these folks. Now I'm going to go ahead and just take out the what is the best here and just see what we get, see if there is some number of searches per month. So we're still at 0 per month. So that's not the greatest sign, but again, it seems to be an okay way to approach this. So best colored pens for journaling. And again, like same sort of idea, same sort of topics here. Now I'm just going to see if we can get some other ideas. If I just say, I'm going to get rid of gel. So best pen for bullet journaling, see if there's some number of searches for that using, again, keywords everywhere. So still no searches, but as we scroll down, we could see that people are asking this. What pens are good for bullet journaling? What's the best pen? What is a bullet journal used for? So again, the point is this is apparently 0 searches per month. However, we see that there's, a lot of related searches and a lot of like ways that people are looking at this. Now, just going to get rid of bullet journaling and see what comes up. So still it's now it's kind of amusing. So we're seeing 0 searches per month here, but what we can do is again, click and we see just more related searches. So the like one of the main takeaways is, start with that format, start looking deeper into the topic. Now, and the thing is, like, some of these are not going to be buyers keywords. Some of them will be, even though they're not a format of best blank for whatever, but you wouldn't know it until you start digging in and just literally this is what I do. All right. You just spend time researching and looking for ideas. So here is a buyer's term that doesn't look like a buyer's term. It will vary for every niche that you're in. So pens that don't bleed through thin paper. All right, people are looking for a pen that blank, right? So if we go back to my old standby of beer brewing, there's vocabulary around home brewing beer that is not common knowledge. You have to be a real beer nerd to understand it. But the point is, you could find terms like that all over the place in any niche where it is literally a buyer's term, but it's not going to be in a format that you would know if you're not in the niche. It doesn't mean you have to be an expert. It just means you have to go look. So you can find, I'm just going to throw out something that most people won't understand, but you could be looking for a mash tun that doesn't have stuck sparges, right? So I'm using vocabulary that most people don't understand unless you've, gone through a brewery tour and you paid a lot of attention. You probably went through a lot of brewery tours, and that may indicate that you were drinking while you're going through the tour. That is probably what I would do. But the point is, you could find buyer's keywords without using the standard format, but you have to go dig and you have to understand some of the vocabulary around the specific niche. So I hope this was helpful. If you have questions about like the way I was going through this or anything, please leave a comment. Feel free to ask and go deep. In the next video, Alex is going to talk about keywords that maybe you should avoid, and he'll get into the details. There are some terms that are just not going to work out, even though they may fit in the KGR formula and everything. If you haven't checked out any of the other videos in the playlist, be sure to check out the link below or the card and start from the beginning. So if you're catching this in the middle, be sure you start back at the beginning, watch all the other videos. We'll see you in the next video.